Good morning, grade 10s. Today we're going to look at financial maths. It is day 18's work. You can find all these notes also on the website, and you can also take a look in your textbook on page 206. Right, we're going to look at simple interest and compound interest and their formulas and how to use it. We're also going to look at some examples. Now, the first one here, simple interest, I just also want to state, if they give you something to work out and they don't specifically say the word simple interest, but they talk about a hire purchase, then you must know we always use simple interest when we work with a hire purchase. All right, the formula for simple interest rate, for simple interest is A equals to P, bracket 1 plus I times N. Now let's see what everything stands for. The P is the present value, the original amount that is invested or the original amount that has been borrowed. A is the accumulated capital, the original amount plus the interest, or you can also say the final amount. I is the interest rate per year, and N is the total years. All right, let's look at an example. The first example here, Frans invests 120,000 in a bank. The interest is withdrawn at the end of each year to pay for his yearly holiday. At the end of the 12th year, he withdraws the last year's interest as well as the original deposit. Right, now they want us to calculate the total amount which he withdraws over 12 years from his account if the bank pays 9% per annum interest. Now, they don't say here hire purchase and they don't state simple interest or compound interest, but we know we must use simple interest because he withdraws all the interest at the end of each year. So the first year he invests 120,000 and then it earns interest, and at the end of that year he withdraws the interest. So again, for the next year, the initial amount of 120,000 is still in the bank, and then it earns interest again, he withdraws it again, and again for the third year, it is 120,000 rand that is in the bank. And so it continues. So we know we must use simple interest rate here. Right, so let's start with the formula of simple interest. A equals to P, bracket 1 plus IN. Right, now what I do is I go write down the A, the P, the I, and the N, and then I read through the question and I fill in everything all the information that they give me. For example, the question is, they want the total amount that is withdrawn over the 12 years. Okay, so it is A that we need to calculate. Then Frans invests 120,000 in a bank. That is the value of P, the initial value that is invested. Furthermore, we read that he keeps this money in the bank for 12 years. Therefore, N is 12. And then the bank pays 9% per annum interest. Now, remember, 9% can also be written as 9 over 100 or as a decimal 0,09. Now, all that information I go substitute into the formula like that, and then you go calculate it on your calculator, and you will see that at the end of that 12th year, he would have withdrawn 4,900 and 249,600 rand. Okay, let's look at the total amount interest which was earned. Okay, now interest that was earned, only the interest, not the initial amount that was invested. We can use the formula, the final amount minus the initial amount, A minus P. All right, and if you put in those values, you will get the answer of 129,600 rand. All right, let's look at compound interest. The formula for compound interest is more or less the same as simple interest, except that the N is now outside of the brackets as an exponent. Let me just show you there. Okay, the P is still the present value, A is still the final amount, in other words, the original amount plus the interest, N is still the total of years, and I is still the interest rate per year. Let's look at an example. All right, the example says, to start a small business, Ben borrows 70,000 rand. The loan is repaid after 5 years in one amount. Calculate in each of the following cases the amount which is needed to pay off the loan. Right, so they want us to calculate the final amount that I should pay off after 5 years. For the first one, A, if the interest is calculated at 12% per year, simple interest. Okay, so we need to use the simple interest formula. There it is. Now, you don't have to do this all the time. It's just easier at the beginning. I write down all the A, B, I, and the N, and then I go read the question again, and I fill in the information that they give me. Okay, so we know he borrows 70,000 Rand. That is the value of P. We know that he's going to repay it after 5 years. That is the value of N. And we know that the interest rate that the bank gives him is 12%. All right, so I is then 12%. Remember, you can also write it as a fraction or as a decimal. Now I go substitute all those information into my formula. I type it into my calculator and I get my answer, 112,000. He has to pay back after 5 years. The question at B, now they want us to calculate the amount which is needed to pay off the loan if the interest rate is calculated at 12% per annum yearly compounded. All right, now it is compounded, the interest rate. So we need to use that formula for compound interest. Remember, the N is now as the exponent. Again, you don't have to do this, but at the beginning it is easier to do it like this. Write down all the variables and I read the information and I insert it where it is supposed to go. 70,000 again is the present value. In other words, the amount that he borrows, 70,000. Again, it is 12%. I see here's a mistake. It's not 7,000, it's 70,000. Let me just quickly correct that. All right, now it is 70,000. My interest is still 12% and the amount of years is still 5 years. Then I go substitute it into my formula. You type it into your calculator and you get your answer. Right. Here is the last example. Toby invests 30,000 in a pension fund for 8 years. The investment grows to a total amount of 65,000 after 8 years. Calculate the interest rate per year, yearly compounded, which gives the same final amount. All right, so I know we're going to use compound interest. There's the formula. Now let's read quickly through the question and fill in what we can. 30,000 is invested. Initially, 30,000 is invested, so that is the value for P. Okay, the investment grows to a total amount of 65,000. That is the final amount, in other words, A. And this all happens in 8 years. So N will be 8, and your interest rate is the one that we have to calculate. Interesting. Right, we fill in everything into our formula like that. And now the thing that we want to work out is inside the bracket. So we must first get rid of the 30,000. Now currently on the right hand side of the equal sign, it says 30,000 times the bracket. So to get rid of that 30,000 times, I have to divide on the other side, and that's what I'm going to do. Please don't work here with decimals, rather keep it as a fraction, because if you round off too quickly, too early in your sum, your final answer will be incorrect. Okay, now we have to get rid of the exponent to the power of 8. Okay, so to get rid of that 8, we have to take the 8th root on the other side, like that. That automatically removes the brackets. Now we still need to get rid of the 1, so take it to the other side of the equal sign, and then it becomes a -1, like that. And now only you can put that into your calculator and write down a decimal, but keep at least 5 decimals after the comma. Okay, and we know that interest is always out of 100, so if you multiply that with 100 and you round off your final answer to 2 decimals, you will get that the interest rate is 10.15%. Grade 10s, your homework is exercise 1, which is on page 209. number A, B, E, and F. But please stop looking at the video now and first go do it on your own, and then you can come back to the video to see if your answers are correct. All right, the first one, A. Trevor invests an amount of 20,000 in a bank. Calculate using appropriate formula the accumulated amount after 6 years and the total interest he will receive if the interest rate is 4.5% per annum simple interest. Simple interest, there's the formula for simple interest. We know that P will be 20,000. I will be 4.5%. You can write it as a fraction or as a decimal as well. And then N is 6 for 6 years. I put that into my formula and I can calculate the answer. The accumulated amount after 6 years will be then 25,400 Rand. But that was not all they asked me. They also asked the total interest he will receive. Now for the interest rate, the formula is A minus P. In other words, the final amount, the amount with the interest, minus the initial amount that was invested. If you put that into the formula, you will get an answer of 5,400 Rand. Right, now number 2, they asked the exact same question, except now it is 4.5% per annum compound interest. So I use the formula for compound interest. Again, P will be 20,000, I will be 4.5%, and N, remember now is an exponent, but N will be 6 years still. If you calculate that with your calculator, you will get that answer, 26,045 Rand and 20 cents. But again, they also asked me to calculate the total interest he will receive. That's the formula there for that. And if you take the value of A minus the value of P, you will get that the total interest he will receive will be 6,045 Rand and 20 cents. Question B. Rafilia wants to purchase a stove costing 12,000. She wants to pay back this amount with interest in 2 years' time. The interest rate is 24% per annum simple interest. Simple interest, all right. Number 1, calculate the amount that she will repay in 2 years' time. Okay, simple interest, we use that formula. P will be the value of 12,000, sorry. I will be 24%. And N will be 2 years. There we go. If you calculate that on your calculator, you will get an answer of 17,760 Rand that she will have to repay after those 2 years. Number 2, if she wants to pay the loan off in monthly payments over the 2-year period, what will her monthly payments be? Now remember, there is 24 months in 2 years, so that is just simple. That's 17,760 Rand divided with 24 months, and then you will get that she will have to pay 740 Rand for the next 24 months. Question E. What amount must be invested now in order to receive 650,000 in 5 years' time if the compound interest rate is 6% per annum? Okay, so we are working with compound interest. There is the formula. Now, because this is not a typical question, it's maybe perhaps a little bit trickier, I'm going to write down the A, P, I, and N. Okay, let's just quickly read through this again. What amount must be invested now? So they're asking us to calculate the value of P. We don't know what the initial amount is. Okay, in order to receive 650,000, so that would be our end amount. In 5 years, the value of N, if the compound interest rate is 6%. Remember, you can write it as a fraction or a decimal. Good. We substitute all those information into our formula. And now we need to get P alone. P times that whole bracket stands on the right-hand side. So we must get rid of that bracket. And by doing that, we have to go divide on the other side. Again, please don't try to work with decimals here. take the whole bracket to the other side. It's that 650,000 divide with the whole bracket, which is 1 plus 6 over 100 to the power of 5. Okay, and then you can round off to 2 decimal. And there is the amount that should be invested now in order to get 650,000 Rand in 5 years' time. Last question, question F. How long would it take for an investment of 50,000 to increase to 65,000 if the interest rate is 5.5% per annum simple interest? Simple interest, there's the formula for simple interest. Okay, let's fill in the information that they give us. The investment was 50,000 and it increased to 65,000. Therefore, A will be the 65,000, P will be the 50,000, I will be the 5.5%, and we need to calculate the value of N, the amount of years, how long it will take. All right. Now, the amount of years that we want to work out, in other words, the value of N, is inside the brackets. Therefore, we should first get rid of the 50,000, and by doing that, we have to go divide on the other side with the 50,000. Now, because that is an easy fraction, you can simplify that 65,000 over 50,000 to 1,3. Right. Now, still I need to get N, the amount of years it will take. I want that alone. So I need to get rid of the 1 first. By doing that, I need to go subtract on the other side with 1. And then that 5.5 over 100, I just wrote as a decimal, which is then 0.055. All right. And now to get N alone, I have to get rid of the 0.055. By doing that, I divide on the other side. And that gives me an answer of 5,454545, and it goes on like that. So then you can just say it's more or less 5 years and 5 months. I hope you understand, and please feel free to ask us if you don't understand something. That is it for today.